So y'all give Clay Tryan and Allen Bach a hand. We appreciate y'all being here.
Does Clay have something he can? Good job last night. Did you guys all see the rodeo last night?
Hey,
what's the first thing that come to your mind as far as the cattle?
Bigger.
Bigger. That was the first thing. The very first one I seen, it was like, wow, big, run hard, big wide legs. Meaning, because I've been here so many times and competed, it's like it's going to be a hard week of roping, and that's where probably the smarter ropers, the guys with good horsemanship, is going to have a better time of it. I thought Clay did a good job last night of getting a great start and setting things up to where the run stayed together pretty good. When the cattle are bigger and stronger like that, it's really easy in that little building for things to get away from you quick. You just don't realize that. I visited with a couple of my buddies that was here for the first time and told them, even though I'm a healer, I know the value of hitting the barrier and getting a good start. If you're a foot late during the year at certain ropings, no big deal. You're a foot late here, it might be disastrous. Because when you get down there past about halfway, the run gets out of hand and gets real hard. You might expound on that a little bit about the start, being the quarterback, and how important it is to get out.
Am I on? Yeah. As a header, I don't know about the healing side here, but I know heading, you miss the barrier, it makes it really hard. The arena is not very long and things tend to get away from you. So you want to be on the barrier pretty good. And if you are, even if you got a runner, it seems pretty easy. If you got a slow one, it's a little bit easier. If you're off the barrier, it's not as hard then. But if you got one that runs, you dang sure need to be in it to turn a good one. But I like the steers. You talked about the steers. I think I kind of think of myself as a little bit of a throwback, and I think this is the way it should be. This is the best kind of roping, and to me, at the end of this, is the best ropers should shine, because the steers are just naturally wide-legged. They got some horns, so you got to go through your fundamentals and do things kind of right. You can't just pick them off. Guys shouldn't wave it off as much, which that's the way it should be, And they're not just huge. They're just, I think, good steers, a little bit fresh. You kind of got to handle them a little bit. I loved it. When we broke them in, some guys were complaining. I was like, this is the best set of steers that I've maybe ever seen here.
It's interesting to hear him say that, because I have the same mentality myself after roping all my life. And you rope all kinds of different steers, little freshies, fresh steers that are broke in really good, mediocre steers that are broke in, and then there's all the way from that all the way up. There's easy roping all the way to hard roping, and amazingly, the better foundation and fundamentals you have, it gives guys like us, or I'm like you, I feel like I have an advantage when it gets hard. Like big wide-legged steers, run hard, tough to read the corner, a lot of dead corners, everything that isn't just easy flowing around there healing. So the better the fundamentals, the more I feel like it's an advantage to me. And I think, in being a competitor and been here so long, to hear him say that, it immediately kind of gives you a confidence boost to know that, hey, this is going to be a hard week of roping, but I got an advantage because I feel like I can rope these steers better.
Yeah, and I think that's the only thing that I don't like about team roping nowadays as far as the open gut. I mean, it's like we rope goats sometimes. I mean, you don't need to use a big loop or heading, or you can just pick the horns off. You don't really got to do anything really right to be able to rope good or rope fast. And I kind of like it the way it is now. I mean, like I said, if you're one of the best ropers, you should shine this week. And I don't think the times will be as fast, but I don't know if a 3.5, like I just tell people, a 3.5 is not a correct run. I mean, a lot of times it means your horse worked bad and just things went right for you. But like today, like last night, like the minors, that was a good run. That's the way team roping. That was, everything was set up good handle, a good heel shot. The finish was good. He got a good start, good head loop. I mean, and then if you notice the steers like this are that big, you notice guys' mistakes, because it turns how many times in the last few years have you seen as many 5.3s? Well, what they were is little mistakes, and these steers will show it to you, and it makes you a little slower. Where you didn't even notice that before, those mistakes would have been 4.6s. Well, now a mistake will be huge. So the good run, the 4.6, that was a great run last night. That on that pin of steers, I don't know. You never know what it's going to be like. The next couple pins I think are a little slower, but they don't lead the chute as good either when we broke them in. So it could be even tougher tonight. You might actually have to score a little bit because they don't lead the chute good. So I don't think it'll be as fast, or at least for the first few rounds, as it has been in the past.
Well, and that does kind of flow into, each time I get an opportunity to speak this week, I'm going to talk about, our practice program, why we designed our machine the way we designed it. And being somebody that's competed all my life, I've went from 20 years ago, the machines coming in and top guys thinking that it wasn't for them, it's just for beginners and going really slow. And I tried to design a machine that would be something that a beginner could learn on and help his horse all the way up to the top guys. And I was going to, for instance, show you something like what Clay made a comment there about little horns and roping goats. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but meaning you can get away with not too good of a head and swing and barely open your loop up, barely catch the horns. To these bigger, stouter steers that are running, it's going to show up in your mechanics of your swing. Do you mind roping a dummy a couple times? Yeah. I'll kind of show you guys, maybe face it this way.
Face it.
Yeah. And then those of you that can kind of get behind Clay, we could maybe even throw a couple loops and turn the dummy. But what I've been doing so much teaching that mechanics to me are defined by where Clay's shoulder is, his elbow is, and where his wrist is. And I've been bragging on Clay because I think he's one of the most fundamental ropers there is as far as his swing. And my advice to you guys would be, don't pick somebody that has a style to model yourself after that's really unique and overly tight or overly wide open. And what that means is like getting your arm out too wide. I heard somebody even this morning, amazingly, at the motel talking to me about somebody teaching them to rope and their arm was way out here, hand was on the outside of their elbow. And there's certain mechanics that just makes roping hard. I got a feeling what he's fixing to show you is like Tyler, his son, he's already showing him what good mechanics are, which makes it easy for Tyler. Tyler's been winning dummy roping, like he won the United States championship here a couple months ago. But in your looking behind Clay there, you notice how his hand is able to go around his elbow there. He's got his tip centered right up in here. The angle is pretty darn level. And what it does, because of the pitch, the angle, the breakover point being here, and where his shoulder and elbow and hand is, when he swings the rope and comes into his delivery, it makes it very easy for him to cover his spacing. Like maybe get like a little bit wide. Like even when a steer moves off to the right, if you have good mechanics in your swing, look how easy it is for Clay to rope out of that. Like a lot of headers, you'll hear them complain the heeler missed the haze, which we are supposed to keep the steer straight. But a lot of headers are so vulnerable when the steer comes this way, and really the shot is exactly the same. As long as you'll keep your tip broke over here, and you have a mechanic, the right mechanics, it makes it easy for you to rope out of position.
Well, as a header though, to me to improve your game is, you said it is your job to haze, but if you don't, it doesn't mean we should miss. So that's where the mechanics come in, to where, I mean, every roping I go to, you got to run 5 head. There's going to be one that goes left, right, or something, and we got to catch those. So that's where to me, the fundamentals it's not gonna be perfect every time, and that's, to me, that's what separates the good guys, because the good fundamentals will overcome stuff like that.
Right, and even when you hear guys like us talk, he's immediately talking about, okay, my mentality is that if you make a mistake, Alan, and don't haze, that doesn't mean you're going to miss. And my mentality back at him is like, if you don't haze or handle the steer just right, Clay, it doesn't matter. I should be able to heal anything. You know, when we're around listening sometimes to the lower number guys talk, there's a lot of, well, if he would have done that or if she would have done that, and by now at our level, we have to take that out of our thinking process, or we'll never get to this level here. But one thing I was going to say, like watch the body posture, even in Tyler, his son. But when Clay was sitting there talking to me, he had his right shoulder back just a tick. What I call like 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock here with my shoulders. He's always got his right shoulder back and his left shoulder forward just a little tiny bit. And that puts him in an athletic position to be able to rope. You notice Tyler being this tall, how he's starting to reach and rope. His mechanics, his body posture and his mechanics are allowing him, even being as small as he is, look how he's throwing his rope. His body is helping him, roping is easy. That's why I keep trying to encourage people. If you will learn the right mechanics, roping is easy. And these little guys prove that to us by getting good training, you know, obviously from his dad. I think he's starting to show off now a little bit. That's good though. He's got one more in him. Any questions real quick on like the mechanics of what Clay's doing? This is a great opportunity to ask him. That's pretty amazing, huh? You know, it's so funny too, is like you have good body posture, good mechanics, then like I got horsemanship, mental, mechanics. When he works on his mechanics being so little, it builds confidence in him, even at that age. He knows that he can stand back there 2 poles away and rope this thing. He's learned how to throw exactly the right amount of rope. That's something that's kind of amazes me. I'm teaching people all over the country to throw exactly the right amount of rope. And as you watched him rope close, medium, and far, he threw exactly the right amount. I mean, and I don't know if you taught him that or he just did that by lots of
A lot of it's from the dummy. The few little things that I've taught him, I mean, as a kid, I mean, he ropes, it's all him. I mean, he ropes all day long. But is like the farther back you go, you're little, notice how it's reach one more time. His tip's above the horns. So when you're trying to reach, if you're trying to teach your kids to reach, or you are, everybody's always wanting to get faster. His tip's above the horn so he can reach and do it. If he swung with his tip down here, it would hit him in the back of the head. So that's just little things if you want to help your kids out with roping.
simple fundamentals.
Simple fundamentals. Like, it took me a long time to figure that out because when I was raised, it's tip down. But now everything in my world for sure is getting faster, and even in your guys, if you're jackpotting, that's one thing you need to work on. To me is raising your tip up a little bit. That'll help you rope more coming to the steer, or if you even want to get back there eventually.
Well, and then like a few comments on like the practice program. Obviously, what I try to do every time I help somebody, whether it's a day lesson or a week lesson, is start off on the ground where they can isolate their swing, their posture, their swing, and their delivery. And then when that's working really well, obviously they don't have to worry about their left hand or their right to do that. But then you get on the horse, you really need to switch over to where now I'm not thinking about my roping, but I'm thinking about my left hand and my right. And I know when I was a kid, I made a mistake if it was all roping. And then I'd get on the horse and whatever shot I got, that's just what I took. But I didn't really figure out how to break it down. And again, back to like our roping dummy, trying to show people like how to practice, start on the ground, work on that 10-15 minutes, get on the Smarty, go slow. There's certain drills that we've worked out on our roping dummy that'll help you to develop a good left hand. Can you expound a little bit on what I mean by a good left hand?
Yeah, well, left hand's important, but like your left hand controls the run, basically as a header. It controls your position going to the steer. I try not to use it a whole lot going to the steer, but if I have to, I do. It controls the speed of your handle and sets up the finish on your face. So, what you're going back to, what I like to do is like I think people think with like the Smarty that that's all you want you to have and not rope steers, and that's so far from the truth. What I say is I start out here when I'm working on something, I move it to here on the sled when we're roping on a horse, and then I take it to the steers. So it's just a gradual process, and that allows me to me a faster process. I didn't have this growing up as a kid, and it's later on in life, but just watching him rope it and see that's the amazing part to me, and just seeing what this does. Like he just started roping on a horse, just got him a good horse a couple months ago. He's roped a little bit before, but a lot now, and just by roping this, he learns how to heel it. Just these legs are wide. I mean, they're like the steers here. How he has to do the fundamentals to stay with his delivery, pulls the slack, it holds it up. He can dally on it, and all sorts of stuff. And like you said, the left hand. I mean, you can do that on your horse at a slower pace. Like getting ready for this NFR, I rode my bay horse. I roped it out of the box, like on him. Like I don't like to make a ton of runs, but it was easier to rope in this. It wasn't as much like I'm not pulling the steer and not asking for his life as much. So I made some fast runs where they just circled in front of me. I went at him as soon as I crossed the line and just held him up and loped, and he was heeling them for me. And I made 15 runs in a row that way, whereas I've never run 15 runs in a row on him in my life since I've owned him. But I just got everything, kept him where he was doing things easy and not trying so hard, being so hard on him. Because that's the thing with head horses, especially. The steers and having to pull them, I mean, the better they are, to keep them good, you can't run 15 a day on them. But you can do different things on the Smarty that keeps them in shape and keeps the feel good with them.
Did you guys all pick up on that? That was, I mean, some key stuff at a high level, but it also especially pertains to you guys. Like he's saying, you know, to go run 15 steers like we always did maybe in the past, where they're really hard runs and he's reaching and pulling the steer off and everything. Because the horse can't help but eventually kind of anticipate, because it's heavier, harder work, and he's doing things hard, where he can go at a speed that's almost like the speed out here and work on his roping, where his tip and everything is riding, and rope and make it realistic for the horse, but yet make it easy for the horse, to where pattern, to where his footwork is doing the same thing every time. And then when he comes in here, there's a pattern that actually helps that horse make it easy for Clay. Instead of back in the day, what we would do is just rope, and as they get a little bit, you know, maybe their back's a little bit sore, they're a little bit fatigued with it, they'll want to get quick and get away from things.
Yeah, and that's to me the coolest thing about the Smarty that you designed is, I'm big, and I'm sure some of you heard me say this, is realistic. When I rope this, I know how when I'm roping sharp, what my loops look like on real steers. Well, this dummy will allow you to do that. So if I'm not throwing good loops on this, I know I need to change something in my swing. Whereas before, I've been roping sharp on steers and roped other machines, and I can throw a good loop. But then if I get to trying to tweak my style, then I'm messing things up. And that's where this doesn't mess me up. And I honestly can say this is the only machine that I felt like this has made me a better roper. And I was already good before, but I'm still trying to get better, and it's even at my level made me better. And then what I've seen with like him, just starting out a young kid roping, and the safety factor of like where I wanted to learn to ride his horse, as far as like just start roping steers, and I'm adamant about, if you guys got kids, haze them to the right. I mean, when I go to schools and see people haze this, we got a 9-year-old kid at school the other day, and somebody's up there hazing them, keeping them off the fence, and I'm like, slow your roll, man. Let them go to the right, because if a steer cuts under them, it's dangerous.
Right.
It can hurt them bad, trip the horse. I mean, some of you guys have seen that. So, like on this, I tell him, stay to the left. I'm teaching him how to do it, so when he gets on the rope steers, that he knows the steer goes to the left and move over. And I think that's just really cool. I'm seeing that more now with him starting roping.
Right, and like coaching so many people, what I see right off the bat is like say your head when you're coming up to a steer and the steer does like move to the left, the heelers have been over hazing them, that you're so focused on roping the steer that all your focus is on the right side, meaning you're roping, and you don't think with your left hand, you don't think to move over. And what's so good, like say at Tyler's age, we could go out there and take it a couple jumps straight and on purpose make about 10 runs with taking the Smarty to the left, where we can tell Tyler to focus on his left hand and moving over, and then when he stays over and to the left of the steer, then go ahead and rope it and make his run. But doing it at the right speed and setting that scenario up over and over, it becomes habit. And Tyler, by the time he's,
He's 7 now.
7, by the time he's 10 years old, the minute the steer starts to step into him, nobody's going to have to tell him to move over because he will automatically have programmed his subconscious to see the steer move, and with his left hand move, that'll be the first thing that he'll think about. But what's interesting, and not to try to make it complicated, from the first jump through the last jump of the run, it's up to you to program your subconscious how to ride your horse, how to swing, how to do everything jump for jump. I mean, by now at the NFR, if you haven't done that, steer moves over like that, if you don't move your horse over as he's doing it, you'll get caught straight behind, and if you do get him stuck, then you're going to have to come straight back, and it's going to totally ruin the run out here. So to me, it's really important to kind of ask yourself, from the back of the box all the way through, what things do I need to isolate and what things do I need to work on? And to repetitiously do it at the right speed. I mean, we could train Tyler to come out and move over to the right fence because we give him maybe 10 of those a day, back to back, to where he anticipates it, and so he's become an automatic moving his horse over. Or we could take it out and move it to the left. I'm training him to be a great heeler. I can go down the arena pretty fast and slow the Smarty down in the corner and teach him how to use his left hand and keep his spacing so that he's not that heeler that always gets on top of cattle. He knows how to get his horse, his footwork shortened up and reads that corner and able to, because by the time again you're at the NFR and the steer gets heavy, I don't want to have to think about shortening my horse up and staying off the corner. I have to automatically have that in me. And I notice even some of the heelers here haven't thought that much about programming their left hand. Clay made a comment 6 months ago that the heelers that get in tight at the NFR are not the ones that he wants to rope with. It's kind of like if you can't keep your spacing, he doesn't want to head for you here. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but it's like this little arena, you're so trapped, you can't be fast as a heeler to be on top of them and then rope them going away. I mean, not fast enough. You can maybe catch all of them, but you're probably a half a second longer every time doing that.
You won't win the most. I mean, that's just what I study as a header. I mean, I study heading and heeling. And I think as headers, it's good to study the heeling side too, to understand what they're trying to accomplish. And I've heeled a lot myself, so I kind of know what it feels like over there. But yeah, you working on all that, and that's the little stuff. I mean, people don't think that we work on stuff on this, and that's what I'm working myself. It's where I work the kinks out. It's the easiest for me to do it. The slower speed if I need to, or whatever I need to do.
I'll tell you something lately. Like before I had my arm worked on 2 months ago. Yeah, heel this a little bit for us, Tyler. You might have to stand on to keep the legs up for us. But before I had my arm worked on 2 months ago, I was already starting to work on getting my loop on the feet and my slack and on the saddle horn quicker. Because like on a slow steer, you have plenty of time to get your loop in there, get your slack, and get to the horn in the same stride. And as you speed that up, you'll find that you start rushing yourself. So I started going faster and faster, seeing how fast I could get the steer roped without shortening my delivery up get full slack and get a good dally all in one jump without shortcutting anything. You notice the same fundamentals like with Tyler here. It's really cool to take somebody small like this. The reason that loop is coming in so good for him is his hand. He knows how to control his hand position. Like he hasn't been taught to throw a trap, so he doesn't have any bad mechanics. He doesn't throw it out in front of the feet. He automatically just hangs on to it and puts it under that right leg. His dad is teaching him to rope on a high level at an early age, which that's the way I've always tried to teach, is not teach something that we don't do. The reason his loops come in so darn good though is his hand is in a good position from here to there, and he's not turning his hand over too early to get his slack. Which this is the first time I've actually, I've already roped, this is the first time I've seen him throw a heel loop, because he's getting better month by month. It's like he's even transformed in the last 6 months. Yeah, day by day, it's amazing. But Clay is just adding little bits and pieces to his roping. But like for instance, what Tyler was doing that makes it so easy for him to rope the dummy is simply that. Like I keep trying to make roping simple to people. The reason that I hardly ever missed the right leg in my whole career was I kept my hand in this position, and because it was in that position, my bottom strand was down at that point. And the simplest, to me, I've seen it in a simple way that to rope inside leg, almost every time you do it, it's because of that. Because we're turning our hand over to get our slack too early. And if you don't control that and practice that, then you will always have trouble roping the inside leg. Like at my schools, I'll make people deliver like Tyler was doing. Hesitate right there for a second and then roll your hand over. You should be able to separate, here's my delivery, here's my slack. But they shouldn't run together. And like what I was saying, when I start back and really try to get myself tuned up to go to the winter rodeos this year, I'm going to start back here in lane 2, like I always teach. Lane 1 is straight behind, lane 2 is to the left, lane 3 is over here. I'm going to just start off my practice program going here, slow, medium, and fast, and get my body posture and my swing just the way I want it, and then go ahead and use my legs and ride up and make my loop work really fast and get my slack real slick and take 2 dallies. Like I've been dallying twice lately to speed my hand speed up, and then make sure my horse is nice and clean, meaning shoulders are straight, hips are straight, and with the speed of my dally, everything's smooth there, and then speed it up until I'm going like 18 miles an hour, until I'm going like really, really fast. You should be able to rope the feet really fast, just like these guys are roping their horns really fast. I think of these feet almost like horns that are upside down. My loop should be able to work really fast, because on some real fast-legged steers that are really moving up the rope, it shouldn't take me very long to go from here to there and get it to here. And if I'm thinking about like overly leaving my loop in there, I'm gonna mess up. And you only have so much time to get them roped before the separation comes, and then you miss your dally. Does that make sense to you guys?
Now, a question for you. Who do you think here at the NFR, the younger guys, that to me look like they copied you the most? I got 2.
Well, somebody that stayed with me for 2 years is Paul Eves. And
Paul.
Yeah. And of course, you know, as a coach or whatever, you're so proud of your kids, you know. And obviously, he's not my kid, but he hung out with Joel and stayed with us for 2 years, and getting to watch him, he's doing just basically everything that I taught. And Patrick Smith is another one that stayed with me for 2 years. And I'm proud of how fundamentally correct they are. They both stay off the corner good. They use their left hand really well. And then both of them, I can remember hours and hours me making them stand out there and do this right here. To get it in their head, this is your delivery, this ain't your delivery. Just that simple analogy of I want to finish like that and not like that. And gosh, I thought Paul roped up. Well, both of them roped kind of a hard steer, but made it look pretty easy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like with Allen's position, like I've watched tapes. I have them all from '91 through 2013 or 12. And the position, I think that's what, out of all the things I think you do best, delivery and position. And Jade, just watch some of these guys, Patrick, Jade, Paul, how they don't cut the corner but keep their horse moving through the corner. And I do think that it's, because I think with him, the reason he ropes so good, I don't tell him as much as you think. He gets to watch me every day. He gets to watch my brother Brady rope all the time, my cousin Chase. That's all he sees. So he's out there copying us. But what I did when I was a kid, I bought the tapes. I went and stayed at your house. I got to see good guys rope and mimic what they do. And you're just breaking it down at a slower pace to where you can understand, then go look. You see, he broke it down for you. Now go look at some tapes of Al Heelan and see how he does it.
Yeah.
And can I talk about the video that me and Jade?
Yeah.
Me and Jade Corkill, Caleb Driggers, and Patrick Smith. It just come out. You guys even might have it in your booth.
Yeah, we have it for sale at Sands at our booth.
It Sands at your booth. It's called Epic Team Roping, and we shot it for a couple weeks. We made, I don't know how many runs. It seemed like a lot. About 80 a day for 8 days straight. It seemed like I was wore out, but we took slow motion cameras, and what made me think of that, you can see the delivery so good, and what Al was talking about, how the misconception of how people bring it in. And I just think Jade and Patrick are two of the best healers in the world. And their delivery, their swings might not be the same, but their deliveries are. And you can see my delivery, Caleb's, you can see everything broken down in a slow motion camera, and we had a drone, and it's pretty cool to check it out. I don't even know if you've got to see it yet.
I haven't got to see it yet, but I totally encourage you to, when you hear stuff like this and you're talking about fundamental guys that rope on the highest level, that you can't get any better teaching or impartation. You know, as you're watching somebody playing copycat, you got to make sure that you're copycatting the right things. Like him getting to watch his dad or Joel getting to grow up around me. Roping was always easy for Joel. I mean, his mechanics of head and swing or his heel and swing, I would point out other guys that roped really well with their arm position, what they did, and it just was an impartation that went into it.
So when you're copying somebody, like I did, I tried to mimic Jake Hards and Speed Williams growing up as a kid. T1 was the best headers in the world at the time. I didn't copy the guy that was at the jackpot that I roped almost as good as already. My dad had told me, hey, those are the best, you know, that's who you're going to have to get. He told me that was what was helped my career. My dad at a young age is like, you're worried about beating this guy. If you plan on being good, you're going to have to beat that guy. So, I mean, if you're going to copy somebody, copy the best guys, and it'll translate if you want to be a hobby roper to me. If I want to copy a golf swing, I'm going to copy Fred Couples. They say he has the best swing. Go copy that. Don't copy the oddball guy that has, you know, the ropes good at the local jackpot. Copy what Allen does, because that's what's going to help you get better and not hold you back, in my opinion.
Right. We just constantly keep talking about fundamentals, and for you guys to up your game, to be able to, you know, like the machine that we designed. A machine is only a machine unless you know how to use it. And as you figure out how to break your roping down, and you practice like an hour a day on the machine, isolating all the right stuff, you can't help but up your game. Even guys like us, we're sitting here talking about the things that we work on, but how much more will that help you guys? And even my boys, I'm constantly getting after them, like, did you rope the sled before you started roping? Well, no, we were in kind of a hurry, Dad. And I'm like, buddy, you can run steers till you're blue in the face, but those couple things I'm telling you that you got to work on, like coming around here and leaking with your upper body, you've got to isolate and slow down and rope the sled a bunch until it's just a habit that you're not going to tell your horse coming to the corner to stop. So I'm constantly even on my boys to make sure that they're spending the right amount of time, slowing down and isolating. We did and I encourage you guys to get it. It's a skills and drills video that Clay and I did, and it breaks down heading and heeling and all the different drills that we work on, from horsemanship to mechanics of roping to making live runs on the machine and going at a slow, medium, and fast stage. And this is something Clay and I did that even surprised us, but have you guys ever run or roped a machine at 10 miles an hour, made a few runs, and then roped it at 12, 14, 16? We did a little sample deal where we made 3 runs at 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and then we turned the machine over at 22.
Probably close. I don't know if we turned it over.
I remember. I mean,
you've done it probably. I've never turned it over. But
I'm telling you, it's interesting to see where a horse comes undone at. Like just 2 miles an hour difference. Sometimes some horses will stay hooked at 12 and 14, but you kick them up to 16 miles an hour, their eyes will start getting big. They'll start a little bit fretting, and they'll step by the corner, or they'll start getting wide on you. Knowing where that speed is for your horse, and to be able to put a pattern on him at that comfortable speed, and then ease him up 2 miles an hour, and then ease him back. But I mean, that's a more exact way to train your horse. Same way with you. I've watched certain ropers that are totally comfortable at 12, 14 miles an hour, but slower than that. And they'll even tell you by the way they talk to you, man, I hate slow steers.
that's mental too.
It's mental. Yeah, I hate slow steers. And then obviously they can't rope the fast steers. But 12 and 14, they're comfortable. You know, and I'm like, well, doesn't that tell us something? Where should you practice at? Practice on the machine slower and practice faster and try to up your game. And to where it's all mental, to where pretty soon, yeah, I drew the slow one on the high teamer. I'm happy.
I want the slow one.
Yeah, I want the slow one.
That's how you win the rope.
Well, and people are sometimes too idealistic, and you can't always have a 12 and 14 mile an hour steer. It's just like even here last night, I seen a couple 20 mile an hour steers that, can you mention a couple last night that really run?
I thought
Kobe Lovell's
I thought
run.
the best, that one run, he missed the barrier, but I thought the best run of the night, or the second best run, was Paul Eads and Dustin Burgess. That steer did run. And they did their fundamentals good. They stayed hooked and rode their horse. I know Dustin did a good job of riding all the way to him, but he did everything so good, and Paul did so good that they were 5-1 and went farther than anyone.
Yeah.
It could have been a 7 flat.
I thought exactly the same run, thinking, had he been off the barrier like Colby, it would have been disastrous. But because he nailed the barrier, well, he didn't nail the barrier, but he was really going hard and really rode his horse really hard all the way to within a coil, made a sharp shot, and then same deal. He held the steer together enough. It still wasn't just easy to heel, but good enough that Paul read it out and made a sharp shot. And if you broke that run down, you could teach a lot of great fundamentals and good mental control on that.
But if they have bad fundamentals, they're +5 or split the horns or horse ducked and waved it. They did everything right. See, if they didn't do everything right there, they don't get by that steer.
Or the horses.
That's what I'm saying. If he didn't ride his horse right, his horse leaks out, he splits the horns or waves it off because of it or loses his rope. Paul, if he does catch you, it's a terrible handle on the head side. If Paul doesn't ride his horse through the corner good, he gets the right leg. I mean, they did everything right, and that's what allowed them to make it, to me, probably the second best run besides the guys that won. Even though they won 5th, they still made a great run.
Well, yeah, and it also goes back to, what about them 2 horses? Like, both of those horses stayed together going really fast. I mean, they rode them good, but the fact that's what kind of I'm saying, like back in the practice pen, if you got that horse that's a limited one-dimensional horse that only stays together at 12 and 14 miles an hour, you need to work on him at a faster pace to where you can repetitiously make runs faster and help that horse get confident at 18 miles an hour or 16 miles an hour. and get his footwork down. There's so much really to it, but what I mean by get the footwork down, the faster they go, the more they want to shortcut you, and the more you've got to keep riding with your legs, use your left hand better in order to help them with their footwork. And then pretty soon you've done things so repetitiously and helped them with their footwork that now that horse is better at a faster speed than he was before. Does that make sense? I mean, when I always say, does that make sense? Everything in roping makes sense. If you understand it, it should break down and make sense and make it easy to teach or coach and make it easy to understand. And if you're getting help from people that it's really complicated, then somebody said one time, if you can't make things really simple, you must not understand them very well. And I pride myself as far as my coaching. I can usually break it down and make it simple, but I've spent all my life trying to understand it. Anybody have any questions here? I don't know what our time is getting to, but any questions on last night's roping?
Nothing, not one question.
Come on now. When's our next school? My website will be updated, and we're doing quite a few like camps and schools, and try to even put some of Clay's schools on my website. But that's what I always say is go to the websites to kind of check our calendar out. Any questions though as far as swing, delivery, things that we use a Smarty for?
Whenever you were roping real wide to the left, do you still aim at your right hop, or do you look at the left hop?
He said, whenever you're standing as far to the left as I was standing roping it, and that's good that you noticed that. Can I borrow your rope? It's funny, like for years when I would teach people, most people when they ride position heeling, they don't use their peripheral vision very good, and they'll watch their target, which is right in here, the hocks to the bottom of the feet. They'll look at their target and they'll kind of unconsciously pull their horse in a little bit tight. Did anybody ever do that, heading or heeling? Got a few honest people. I mean, almost everybody does it. When I'm riding that four-wheeler, almost everybody I see heading and heeling, they're drawn in here close. Well, what does that do to your swing? A lot of times that will tighten your swing up. So what I'll do is I'll move people over just a touch. What does this do to my delivery? My swing stays the same, but what did my hand do in relation to my elbow right there? You guys that are behind me, it promoted a nice full delivery, didn't it? Yeah, you know, like anything, whether it's a tennis swing, a golf swing, throwing a javelin, your body posture, your leverage is so important. So for me to stand here and kind of practice keeping my body posture, shoulder back a tip, and you see how instead of going from here and cutting to the inside of my elbow, like if I was straight behind and slicing the legs, it really promotes me to come out of my swing into a really good delivery. Good delivery meaning that is really easy for me to just come out of that where my tip is, my angle is, and I come out of that, and it's real easy for me to guide that loop in there. That kind of answer your question? And so I would say practice roping the feet a foot to the left over and over and over. It does two things. One is it kind of unconsciously gets you to riding your horse more to the left. The ideal position is probably here, but when you've been practicing over here, just think how much easier this shot is. You see how much loop I got through there? Training myself to get a really good open delivery is going to make it just that much easier to come through there with. Anybody else?
What's your take on timing? the other roping machines, they all kick out.
He's asking what's my take on timing and how important is timing. Timing is very important. I was the guy that introduced the machine and I designed the first timing machine. And in theory, it was supposed to work because, we got the right gears. We made it jump 10 or 9 inches high, 22 inches long. But it only matched your horse going at 12 miles an hour. So you'd be with your horse and with the machine at 12 miles an hour and work pretty good. Anything slower or faster, you had to abandon the feel of your horse and riding your horse, and you had to try to rope the machine. And everybody, when I say that, seems to nod their head like you guys are. Like this here, I can be with my horse's left front foot, and whether I'm 10 miles an hour or I'm going 20 miles an hour, I can stay in sync with my horse's stride. And if you guys ever watch a heel horse's front feet, he'll be coming in there and timing the back feet of them steers. I mean, almost nail it because of they'll get short, and if he doesn't, you don't really want that heel horse. I don't want a big old long strided horse that can't get with the steer. By the time I come in there and I've tracked one a little bit, that horse should be right in sync. So when he is, I'm riding my horse good with my feet. I can push him all the way into I'm not going to float it. I'm not going to jam it. I'm teaching myself to soften my delivery and finish every time. Muscle memory. Keep my hand in that position. It's always a domino effect. Like I said about Tyler, being able to throw that. If he was to rope a timing machine like a whole lot, pretty soon he'd start doing that, floating, sitting back on his pockets, or jerking it out early. And has anybody seen this loop here very much? What causes that? When you haven't really made a really good delivery, you haven't taught yourself a lot of discipline to stay down and finish, and you're always trying to hurry that timing of it, and you rope the outside leg, or you turn your hand over too early and get the inside leg. And what my theory is that you're in time with your horse, you're coming in there at any speed, and then you're learning to go ahead and finish, get your slack, and dally. And because I make all my students dally every time, they're going through the complete run. It tests them to see if they're going to turn their hand over too early and mess their delivery up. So start off, 10 miles an hour, 12, 14, doing everything just right. Then what I'm finding that I never could brag about on the other machines is I can take somebody, a whole group of heelers, from roping the machine a couple hours, and then we go into cattle, and they'll be with their horse. They'll come in there and they'll heel about 3 or 4 of them, right out of time, good delivery, not shortcut anything, and everybody will be looking around like, wow. I mean, and it only lasts so long, and then they get to a little bit worrying about the timing, and then I got to get them back on the sled, get all the fundamentals working good again, put them back on cattle, and then they rope really good again for a while. And it's just proved to me to where I can sit and look you in the eye and say, this works. I mean, I can prove over and over to people, like when you watch me with a whole group of heelers, I mean, it works when I take them from this to cattle and then back to this. I fix the fundamentals, and then they rope good again.
One little secret I know that you got to talk about, the guys that have ones that top, they turn them off. The heelers, they don't rope it even with it on. That I've seen. I mean, I've been at people's houses. They shut them off and just rope it like a sled because they know as well as I do the timing's not the same. Right? It's not.
I'm not a roper, but I'm a driver.
You're a driver?
And I just have a question. When I he's heeling dummy and I'm driving, do I nail in the brakes or do I just kind of let off the gas or as a driver, what can I do?
Oh, that's an awesome question. She said, as a driver, trying to help her
On the four-wheel.
husband, trying to help her husband, does she just need to nail the brakes, or? And that's, well, it helps me brag on my machine a little bit here, because I looked all over trying to find the stoutest springs. Like we have a spring in the tow bar, spring here, so there's a lot of give. Like from here, it's all you can do to pull them legs together with your arms. You can't hardly do it, it's so strong. So the heel horse feels that first spring come together, then he feels the second one, and then the tow bar, and you can stop fast enough that you could just be basically using almost just that spring. And that would be timing his galley where you stop pretty fast. Or you can just not even use the brakes most of the time. Just let off and let his horse just naturally take it from here to the tow bar. And there's so much give in it, there's a lot of reaction time, like for you to hit the brakes if you need to. But from about 12 miles an hour down, I normally don't even hit the brakes, but I'll just let Tyler and Joel just stop it, because it's a nice, easy, it's not a hard hit to where it makes the heel horse get on his front end like you're tying hard and fast. It helps that horse get down and keep his shoulders and his hips down. So good for young horses to train them to get into their stop and do it right, to where it's an easy hit on the saddle horn, right down to a pretty strong hold on the saddle horn. I mean,
it feels just like a steer to me. That's
it
the
feels
biggest thing it's amazing.
It feels more like a steer than anything else we've come up with. And all my buddies, the top heelers, they all say that. That's why there's probably more of the top heelers roping them right now, and they're actually buying them from me, not having to give them away. Anybody else got it? You know, and to make a comment, the more you guys talk and she understands, the more you can help isolate things in his run. Like if you see him, I'm going to turn her into your coach. Okay? That's dangerous, right? But like you coming around and maybe you're getting in on top of cattle a little bit, she could say, honey, let's do the corkscrew a little bit. Like I have a drill where you go out and go in a big circle and then go down and give him a corner. And that circle gives him an opportunity to hold his horse out, use his left leg, and guard against the horse getting in there too early. Him being patient all the way around there. You can do that a few times and then go rope some steers and notice that his left hand is getting better. More patient, his horse is holding his shoulder up. That makes sense? And at the right speed. But the driver is a big, big deal. Are we running out of time? I thought I seen you with a hook over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, y'all give a hand for world champion team ropers Clay Tryan and Allen Bach. Y'all will be back. I don't have the schedule right here in front of me, but you'll be back at some point before all this is said and done.
Day after tomorrow.
Perfect. Day after tomorrow, y'all come back and check them out. It's brought to you by the Smarty Roping Dummy here.
Where's my daughter at? Here's my daughter Erica. If you guys want a brochure, she'd be glad to give you a brochure to read up a little bit on it.
And I've got those right over here. And y'all are more than welcome to hang out and visit some more, you know, and all that good stuff. We're going to get Bert Davis and the Muttley crew. But give them a hand one more time. Thank y'all.